Let's get it cracking. Connect. And now we buffed up. And now we hit play. Let's get it. Welcome to the Memecool Jackson Show. I'm your host, Memecool Jackson. I'm chilling. My energy's a little bit low tonight. It's been kind of a rough day. But we still gonna rock it out tonight with the show, man. Trying to get my energy picked up a little bit, but you know, it's one of those days, man. It is what it is. So, but today our show is going to be, I don't know, it may not be interesting to a lot of y'all, because pretty much what I'm going to do is I'm going to review what I did yesterday for Christmas Day. And then within that review comes reviews of the basketball games that I watched, because as we enter the month of January and as December closes out, it means we are closer to football being over and basketball being our primary focus. Baseball does start in like late March, early April, but no one cares about that. The only thing baseball related that I care about is the guaranteed contracts that these niggas get. Because I'm trying to see if I can still give it a go as a professional baseball player. But until I get that call, I can't really acknowledge baseball all that much on this show, you know, because if they're not going to call me and pay me the money, why would I acknowledge that? But I guess you could say that about the NFL and the NBA. It's not like they're paying me any money, but those are two sports that I tend to still participate in, so I care a little bit more about them than I do baseball. But either way, our show tonight might be geared a little bit more towards sports. Obviously, we have crazy things that have been happening that I'm going to talk about. But if you were one of the people that tried to tell me that my show had too much sports on it, you're really going to hate this episode. So you might as well just turn the shit off now if you are one of those people who really complained about the sports topics, which is weird to me because the show is listed as sports, comedy, entertainment, all of that. Sports is literally in the description of the show. So, again, if you had a problem with it, go ahead and turn the shit off now. But we're going to jump into that. But the first thing I wanted to touch on was I saw this picture yesterday, and it was a picture of LeBron bald. And I'm only bringing this up because we're going to talk about LeBron, the Lakers. But last week on the show, I think I brought up how I think it's weird to me that his hairline is magically perfectly straight in the very beginning of the games, and then by the second or third quarter, the shit looks frayed out at the top like it's jammed. Now, you obviously see why I'm wearing the headbands, because my forehead's big as fuck. My hairline is despicable, but I'm still blessed enough to still have it all there on the top and on the back and sides. So I just gotta wait until I'm able to get a haircut, and then we'll fix this shit up here. But the picture of LeBron bald, it actually didn't look that bad. Now, I'm one of these people that has been saying for the longest time, look, bro, they list you as the king. You're going to go down in history as one of the greatest players to ever have played professional basketball. So it's okay if the one thing that you don't have is a full head of hair. I don't think anyone is going to give you a real hard time. I mean, not any harder than what people have already been giving you your entire career about your hairline. It really won't be that bad. So it's based on what I said about LeBron, it's forced me to look within. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, Nick, if you looked within, why are you wearing the headband? Show the world how janky your hairline is. And I'm going to tell you like this. Because of the amount of time it took to put the headband on, I'm not going to take the headband off. But maybe on the last show of the year, because I don't think, actually, no. By the time the last show of the year airs, I will have gotten a haircut. It won't look much different, but I'm just going to tell you, my forehead is protruding. Is that the word? I think that's the word. It's just out. So that's why I got the headband on. You probably wouldn't even be able to tell from the face-up view that they have right now, but their forehead is still big as fuck. So like I said, it's forced me to look within, and then, you know, I don't want to say that I fairly misjudged Mr. James, because I feel like, bro, you're worth billions. Just go bald, bro. You'll be okay. A nigga like me, I need the hair to be able to function and get my foot indoors and all these types of things. If they see me coming and I'm just bald with how ugly I am, it's gonna be a wrap, bro. But you're already at that point in life where like there isn't much more for you to like, have to prove. You're not looking for ways to still gain favor with people. You're not a lowly civilian like myself. So the picture I saw of him, he obviously was not bald. When the game started, he had the hairline thing, and then like I said, by like the second or third quarter, that shit was frayed up at the top like the bottoms of some jeans. But shout out to LeBron, man. You're still rocking it. I'm not sure how you have a brand new hairline before every single game. Whatever you paid for that, I'm still unsure if it's even worth it. But shout out to you, man. Just shave it, bro. I'm tired of having to tell you that. Just shave that shit. Dang, we ain't even introed the show yet, man. I had to bring the whole hairline thing up, man, because the picture I saw was crazy. Y'all should check that out. Check out my Facebook page and my Instagram. I think I put it on both of them. You'll be dying laughing. If not, I'll put it up after the show. No, I'm about to just cut this song off because we let one song go. I was too busy talking. We haven't introed the show yet, so they've just been listening to music for the first couple of minutes. But you know what? That's fine by me. Shit. Let them enjoy this old school Chevy Riding High record. Dre featuring Rick Ross. I am going to talk about this post that I seen today. I'm not going to read it because the guy who posted it, he got pretty vulgar in regards to kind of how he was disrespecting this one person. But, over the last couple of weeks, we've had Lizzo has been featured on the show because of multiple things or examples where she's like, she had her ass out at the Laker game, and then she did some other, like I think she disrespected a Postmates driver, something along those lines. But this guy made this post because a few years ago, Rick Ross was at an award show, and he was performing with, I think, Lil Wayne and somebody else, and he had a button-down shirt on, but it was just undone, so everything was hanging out. And the guy was posting about how all the girls shamed him for being fat, which we know is true because we all kind of shamed him for being a little bit too fat to have his shirt just undone. Bro, you had an award show. And so Rick Ross, shout out to him. He's really worked hard to get the weight down, do all these things. But the guy who posted this, his point was that everybody was, talking about, well, we got to stop shaming Lizzo and let her do her thing and blah, blah, blah. We got to empower her. And it's like, but these are all these same people that were giving Ross a hard time. So shout out to Rick Ross. But this post that this guy had was pretty crazy because he called Lizzo all kinds of names, which I did feel bad about that. But the point that he was trying to get across was the fact that there's all these double standards and we can't pick and choose who we want to shame and who we don't want to shame. Y'all got to stop with that. Let's go ahead and intro the show. Yo, hold up. Let me stop the music, man. I hadn't even had a chance to intro the show. You are now tuned in live on Track Talk Radio. This is the Meemcool Jackson Show. I am your host, Meemcool Jackson. It is Thursday, December 26th, man. We are live the day after Christmas. What was Christmas like? I've seen a lot of y'all posting. You guys have some beautiful families. Some of y'all are hella ugly. Your families looked all cute in their matching pajamas, but some of y'all look the same as the other 364 days of the year, dusty as hell. But still, nonetheless, you guys all, as a family, a collective, you all looked great. So shout out to everybody that had their pictures of them with their matching PJs and celebrating gift giving and making your kiddos happy. That was really dope to see. Again, some of y'all were a little bit dusty, but hey, it is what it is. You're used to living that life. So, like I said, it is Thursday, December 26th. Today has been a day. We'll say that. It's been a day, that's for sure. But hey, man, we're here. We're making it. We're staying strong. Doing everything we can to continue to push through. So, we are getting close to the end of the year. January is literally next week. New Year's is next week. Hope everybody has big party plans, but I hope if you do that you are staying safe out there. Please drink responsibly. Remember that you don't want to start the year off already on Santa's naughty list for the next year. So don't get in any bullshit. Don't be out there doing excessive drinking. Don't be fighting people. Like, bro, it's not worth it to already catch charges on day one of this fresh decade. It ain't worth it. I will probably not be doing anything, probably sleeping as usual. I'm trying to think, what did I do last year on New Year's? I don't think I did anything, but I did kick it with one of my friends. And so, it's weird to, like, as an adult, to, like, still be in a room with other adults and, like, see how awkward they get, like, as they're counting down, like, the 3, 2, 1, and then they hit you with the Happy New Year. And, like, I'm just kind of the type of person that's like, okay, yeah, like, nigga, now it's just midnight on January 1st. I should have been asleep like 3 hours ago. But it's cool to still see people that get excited about that. But I remember that's what I was doing last year, looking at my friend Kelly while she was getting super hyped. And in my head, I'm thinking like, fam, I'm just up way past my bedtime. Like, it's time to go to sleep. And then literally a minute after that, I'm walking out of the door to go home and go to sleep. Like, once it strikes 12, like, what do? Do y'all still party after midnight? Or do you only party up until midnight? See, I don't know, because my party license has been revoked for several years at this point. The one good thing about this January 2020, on the 9th of January, it will mark 5 years that I am in Seattle. So clap it up for that. It's pretty awesome for me. Most people who know me know that I actually move every couple of years. And I usually move away from the primary area that I live in. Now, obviously, based on where I lived in the South, you either live in this place or another place. There isn't like a greater something area. I mean, I guess you could say it's the greater Pensacola area, and there's all these little small shitty ass places outside of it. But out here, like, I feel like if you move from, like what I did, I moved from Renton to Kirkland, that's not moving out of the area. You're still in the area. So I'm proud of myself for still being in the greater Seattle area. Hopefully, if I make it till January 9th, we'll be at 5 years strong. Met a lot of great people in my 5 years here. Have interacted and been a part of some great causes while I've been out here as well. I would say this is a city that seems to be flourishing. It's really packed to the brim, though. There's a lot of people out here. So the only thing I do not like about my time in Seattle is the traffic. I absolutely hate the traffic because none of you MFs really can drive like that. And I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But outside of that, man, I love being here. The weather's pretty good. The people are pretty cool. Once you get them to open up, I would say if you were looking for a change and you want to come out here, be prepared for the Seattle freeze. That shit is real. These MFs do not want to talk to you when you first come here. You're going to have to talk to them. Most of them are hella boring and have nothing to talk about. But I think once you start to spend time with a lot of these people, you start to see how unique and how interesting and like all the beautiful things that they have to offer. But just don't expect, especially if you come from the South. I know a lot of people who are moving away from the South up to places like Seattle, and just other places that are not like Southern based. And I think it's hard for a lot of those people because they're used to saying hello to people when they walk by and like being overly friendly and, taking care of thy neighbor. When you come to a place like this, these people do not give a shit about none of that. So they don't want to talk to you. So if you're planning to come out here, just be prepared for that. But other than that, man, this is a great place to be. So I'm happy that I made it 5 years. It's been a tough 5 years at some points, but overall hasn't been that bad. So shout out to the city of Seattle. You guys are doing okay things. I was going to say you're doing big things, but you're doing okay things. It's enough to make me want to give it another 2 years. Maybe. Anyway, man, let's jump into the show. We had the music playing. You was listening to some, I think it started off with Tupac, Ambitions of a Rider, and then you had some Cool and Dre featuring Rick Ross, Chevy Riding High. I don't know if y'all remember that record, but that's freaking old school. I was really surprised when I I'm not going to say that I thought Cool and Dre have been deceased or anything. I'm not saying that, but I don't really follow their music or their catalog or anything like that. And so after the Chevy Riding High track, I don't remember hearing anything from either of these gentlemen. Not to say that they're whack or they're trash or nothing. I'm just saying I had not heard from them. So when Fat Joe released this track recently, and I think it had Dre on there. And then it also featured Eminem, and we'll kind of get into that. But I was kind of shocked to hear that Dre was still, I don't know if he's rapping. I would never consider anything he does as rap, because he kind of just reminds me of like he's kind of just what DJ Khaled does. At least that's how I perceive him. He kind of just gets on the record and like he just says stuff. And you kind of get turned up and hyped up with it, but like he's not, like if they're listing rappers on the track, it's Fat Joe and it's Eminem, and then there's another guy. He's the hype man. But either way, man, it was good to see. I mean, I'm assuming that he's been around, and maybe it's just been me who has forgotten about him and his partner, but it was good to see him on the track. Now, and I know this is kind of old, but I wanted to give it days before I said anything, because I wanted to see if M was going to clap back. We're in like and I could be wrong, but maybe by the time this airs, we're like in the 10th or 12th day of this like battle. It probably is more than that. But Nick Cannon released 3 diss tracks on Eminem. And Nick Cannon is so far below Eminem that Eminem has yet to reply. And we're literally getting to where we're closing out the year and still nothing. It's just crickets. And I think I'm willing to bet that M is just in a space where he looks at Nick Cannon and probably says, fam, I've been disrespecting you and your now ex-wife, who at the time was your actual wife. He's like, I've been disrespecting you and her for a solid decade now, and you haven't said a damn word. But now, in the course of a week, you put out 3 diss tracks, multiple interviews. And I know the interviews, they date back to even like around the summertime. And I know Nick has said on multiple occasions, this was not the first time, he's called out Mr. Eminem, Marshall Mathers. He's called him out multiple times. I get that. But he really waited until just now to finally kind of like clap back. Because I don't want to say at one point he had offered to like square up with M, like actually fight him if you've ever heard Warning Shot, it was an old diss record that M had made about Mariah, and that shit was off the chain. It's stupid funny too, but some of the stuff he says, I would say if I had a wife at the time and Buddy was talking sideways about my wife, especially the way that M did Mariah, I don't know if rap would be the option that I would take. I feel like the only thing that can be exchanged at that point is hands. Nick, I know Nick I think he's from Oakland, and I know that people say that Nick has a background of being like one of those guys, but I think public perception is it's a bit tough to take Nick Cannon seriously, because he was somebody that he started out on, I think, Nickelodeon, then getting Nickelodeon money, but he seems like a clean-cut dude, and maybe he's just the type of guy who does a really good job of making the system work in his favor, by being able to put, not in a fake way, but being able to put on multiple faces. Maybe he is gangster, but he knew in order to get those big checks that he had to kind of, do what Hollywood needed him to do, which was not be gangster. So maybe that's his thing. But like when you think of Nick Cannon, you're thinking of Drumline, Love Don't Cost a Thing, Nickelodeon shows. I think he was one of the people who kind of got in the ground floor of America's Got Talent. Like, he's like I don't know, man. To me, Nick Cannon is like just the black version of Ryan Seacrest, but with a little more like swag. And that's mainly just because of the fact that he's black. Now, Nick Cannon does do some great things. Like you saw the work that Nipsey was doing with this Dr. Sebi documentaries, and Nick is doing everything he can to make sure that all that information does not die with the people who have been spending time trying to unearth, well, not really unearth, because we all know this stuff is not a secret, but basically communicate to the masses all the work that Dr. Sebi was doing. And There are rumors that get, spread around about how the government or there are people who want to do everything in their power to make sure that that information is not given to the public. I know in the beginning there were people who thought that that was one of the reasons why Nipsey got killed. And so there is something about Nick Cannon that I think we all have to appreciate to some degrees, that he's doing everything he can to make sure that the documentary is put out, the information is given to the people, and he is responsible for creating a lot of careers for a lot of minorities and people who aren't minority. I mean, just for everybody. I mean, you think of, and maybe they're not big time superstars, but shit, if any of you MFs got a job because you went on Wild 'N Out or one of the shows that Nick Cannon was a part of, you can't look at him and say that he hadn't helped you get on or put you in a position to, potentially gain success and fame and, big time money. Nick is responsible for that, for a lot of those people on that show. But when it comes to rap music, Nick Cannon is one of the worst rappers of all time. Now, I said on Tuesday when I was making fun of Jacquees, who claims he's the king of R&B, that I told you that I think my Snapchat singing videos are better than Jacquees. Now, for those of you that didn't know, your boy used to be a rapper. I'm going to tell you, I have like I think it's close to 4 mixtapes unheard that are not good, and they're better than most, if not all, of Nick Cannon's records. I think Lifetime Nick Cannon's maybe sold 36 records, maybe. I don't have the exact figures in front of me, but I can't imagine that he sold a lot of records, mainly because it was clear that rap was not really his steez. He didn't spend, I do like Gigolo. That's a dope beat. I know it had R. Kelly on it, which was kind of what made Gigolo appealing to people when that record first dropped. But mostly when you look at Nick, you're not looking at him as being some guy who is a threat to win any type of rap battle whatsoever. So that's why I can understand that in the beginning when Eminem made fun of Mariah and made fun of Nick, I can see why Nick's option was to just start the fight, because he knew, and he said this, he knew that he was not going to out-battle him in regards to rap. He just knew it was not going to happen. Nick also acknowledges that M is one of the greatest of all time. You hear him say it in an interview with T.I. on that Expeditiously show. This is in September, I think, when this aired. But he says that M is one of the greatest. I think some of this is that he, even though Nick and Mariah aren't together, what I gather from it is that maybe he wants to, entertain this to some degree. But I think it's also brought on by the fact that people probably say shit to Nick like, yo, M clowned your girl and you didn't do shit about it. So I think somebody in his camp, and I think a lot of people, not maybe his camp, but somebody around him who has access to him, has convinced him that he went out like a sucker and that it's a must that he respond to Eminem. A lot of people are thinking that maybe that's Suge Knight. Suge Knight apparently told Nick Cannon that Nick was like this generation's Tupac or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I misquoted that, but Suge, fam, if you ever get a chance to hear my show, please slap yourself. You knew Tupac. And if you know Nick Cannon, you know that Nick Cannon and Tupac are not even close to the same thing. Never have, never will be. Okay? And it's okay. I understand you want to prop a nigga up and make him feel good about himself, especially as he prepares to go into battle with one of the actual greatest like rappers, lyricists, MCs, whatever you want to refer to M as. M is a GOAT in some regard to rap. But if you're going to prop a nigga up to want to go at somebody who's actually in GOAT status, you can't tell him that he's the equivalent to Tupac. That's probably what just got Nick Cannon killed by Eminem, without Eminem even replying to any of Nick Cannon's diss tracks. Now, one of these tracks, he had multiple people who are, I think they're all on Wild 'N Out, but they're all like freestyle battlers. These are guys who have tremendous talent in regards to coming up with witty punchlines during battles. And I mean, I've seen some of the videos of some of these guys, and man, I'll tell you, even as somebody who thinks he can rap, I would never want to be on camera in front of one of these dudes listening to him freaking slay my shit. Like, some of the stuff that they say, man, it's like there's no coming back from that. So I get why Nick, employs them to be on Wildin' Out, makes Wildin' Out really good. And they were on the track as well, one of these diss tracks. But I have to say this. You guys need to stay in battle rap. Don't rap on beats. That's not for you. Also, if any of you were hoping to make your rap careers a little bit bigger than what they are, you should not have jumped on the suicide bus with Nick Cannon as he disses Eminem. That was a bad way for you to try to break into the mainstream game. And some of these guys are stupid talented when it comes to bars and lyrics, punchlines, all that. Like I said, very talented guys. And they're on Wildin' Out. They're on these freestyle things. Like, they're really doing their thing. But going at M, if you are successful, potentially puts you in a much different realm than what you're already in, if you're able to achieve that. The one problem is that you guys jumped on Nick Cannon's wave to try to attempt that feat. That was a big mistake. So, as we close out the end of the year, we're still however many days into this beef, and we've yet to hear any response from M. Now, M did diss him on that Fat Joe track, which is why, I talked about that earlier. And I don't think M said anything that Nick Cannon or Mariah or anyone who's ever heard about this beef, I don't think M said anything that we hadn't already heard. It's your standard stuff. Nick, you're corny. Your girl's corny. I smashed your girl. Your girl's pretending that I didn't smash. She's not your girl. You're a sucker. That's basically all Eminem says to Nick Cannon. So to me, it's weird that after all this time, he finally replied, but we're closing out 2019 where Nick Cannon, only for the rap beef reasons, he'll end up closing out the year as the corniest nigga in 2019. Now, everything Nick Cannon does outside of rap, you have to commend him for. He's a solid brother who's doing big things. He has a very successful show, multiple successful entertainment things that he's a part of. Like I said, he's responsible for putting a lot of people on and helping a lot of people grow their careers. So there isn't too many things that you can say badly about Nick Cannon, but when it comes to specifically just the rapping, Nick, you're trash, bro. You shouldn't have gone at M. And even that last diss track that you put out, you trying to spit bars, terrible. That chorus that you use where it's M on one of his old ass songs from like the late 90s where he says something like, black girls are stupid, black girls are dumb. The world had already addressed M about that shit. It's also going to be hard for you to use that as the thing that kills him when Eminem is classically known for being the person who disrespects everybody. He's disrespected gay people, disrespected trans people, disrespected white people, black people, like it's any and everybody has gotten it. So M is an equal opportunity type of disrespecter. I'm not saying that what he said is right or we're condoning it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that Nick Cannon using that as a way to maybe like bring M out of hibernation to get him to reply, and then and also hope that he can sway the black vote to them being more of Nick's favor rather than M's favor. And I don't know if that's what he did. I'm just saying how I perceived it. I would say if you're putting M's voice on that diss record and playing that clip of him saying those things, it's in an attempt to get people to be like, yo, M really said that? Yo, fuck M. And I know that's what you were hoping for. The only problem is, man, is that when it comes to rap music, people prefer Eminem over you. And it'd be one thing if in 2019 on a record M had said that, but you literally pulled up a clip of him rapping from like 20 years ago and put that on there. It was a nice try, but a solid fail. So again, shout out to Nick Cannon. I can't wait to see that Dr. Sebi documentary, and I hope that we're able to keep Nick safe, because Nick is trying to bring that shit to the forefront. And I think when we start to dive into what he's doing, what Nip was doing before he was taken from us, and what Dr. Sebi had been working on and doing, I think once the world sees that, and I'm sure there's going to be things that, I don't think it's just about like the alkaline diet and all that. I think there's so much more to it that they're gonna uncover, and there has to be a reason why when people try to bring this shit up, that they end up coming up missing and get hurt, get sick, and end up dying. There has to be a reason for that. So let's keep Nick safe, keep him away from Eminem, because that might, I know that's the thing that already got him killed, but we don't actually want him to suffer a literal death. So Nick, stay away from Eminem. Focus all your attention on continuing to help brothers and sisters reach their potential and all their goals. Continue to, be a good father for your kids, which I don't know if he is, but I have it on good authority that he's somebody who's very committed to his family, which I could see that. You're still riding for Mariah after all these years. And believe me, there's been people who I feel have said way worse things about Mariah. And I feel like one of the things is like me, I disrespect her Christmas album every single year. Her Christmas music is garbage. Her music now is garbage. She cannot sing. She's garbage. That's probably worse than most of the stuff that M was saying. And I don't even say that because Mariah at one point was a very talented female R&B singer, but now she's in the dumpster with Nick Cannon's rap career. So, Nick, stay away from M. Stay grinding on all these other projects. Get that documentary out, man. We need to see that. December 26th, man. We are closing out the year. I'm excited, man. 2019 was it was a rough year, but there was a lot of high points. Achieved a lot of goals. I actually recognized this yesterday that all the goals that I had set for the year were all completed. Which was a crazy thing to recognize. And I recognized it when I was getting gas yesterday. I was sitting at the pump, getting ripped off. Because I don't know about where you guys are at, but out here in Seattle, they have where you pay a specific price if it's cash, and then a specific price if it's debit or credit. So this is the one time I didn't have the cash on me, so I got to pay the extra 10 cents. I'm already kind of tight. But then I start thinking to myself, damn, you know what? I'm thankful that in this moment, I'm able just to fill the gas tank up and not stress about the money. And I'm, obviously I'm thankful for many, many other things. But in that moment, it clicked in my head like, damn, I actually completed all of my goals for the year. And that was actually, that's a good thing because I had set some I'm not going to say pretty lofty goals, but they were, pretty significant for me. And then with all the things that had happened, it looked like there was not going to be an opportunity to complete all of said goals. But through some severe luck, many blessings, and having some great people around me, I was able to complete all my goals. So I'm definitely thankful for that. Thankful for having the opportunity to, wake up daily and be able to impact lives. Another thing that I noticed throughout the week, even though I've been kind of struggling, I had a lot of people still continue to reach out and say that they appreciated me and the fact that I provide them nonstop laughs throughout the day. So I can still bank on the fact that because I have, pretty good humor bones inside of my body, I can make people laugh. And when they're having tough days, I can help them get through those times. So I'm thankful for all of these things. And I look at going into 2020, I'm going to set some pretty, significant goals again. And we're going to do everything we can to achieve said goals. And one of them is to get this show popping. So we've already begun that process. Things are getting a little bit better. Again, shout out to all the new followers, all the people that reached out. If you had time while you were, opening gifts yesterday and doing all that type of stuff after the fact, hopefully you went back and you listened to Tuesday's episode. Let me know what you think. Believe it or not, on Tuesday, that was one of the more controversial episodes, I think, based on a topic that we talked about, which was the fact that Tennessee had, I guess they're trying to get something passed where grade school kids can only participate in the sports, based on their gender that is on their birth certificate. They have to participate in athletics with that gender. And so I was in here talking to Cheese, and then we kind of went into a whole rant about it. And there were some people that reached out to me and said that they didn't agree with what I was saying, and that some of the examples that I used were bullshit, incorrect, blase, whatever. I get it that you want to feel that way. I'm just telling you how I would feel. Say if I had kids, if I was a father and my daughter was participating in, middle school or high school athletics, I don't know if I would want her to be on the same court as boys, even if those boys identified as girls, only because when it comes to sports, there's going to be a significant advantage when you look at size and strength and all of those things. Now, I know that there are so many other variables, but I'm thinking of just the average sports mother and father. They're probably not thinking about all of the little things. They're only thinking about what you learn when you're, a young kid, or what you hear even as, a teenager, adults, whatever. You just hear those things about how, boys tend to be a little bit stronger than girls, and the body frames, they end up being different, and as they grow and all these things. I know that the kids play co-ed sports when they're in elementary school. And I think that's fine. Early development years, yeah, sure. But I would not want to have my high school daughter training every single day, putting in all the work, doing 2 a day, sometimes 3 a days, and her be, way better than her female peers, and then have a boy join the league and then go in and then dominate her and all of her counterparts, all because of the fact that he is a boy but playing in the girls' league because he now identifies as a woman. As far as people's personal preferences, I want to make it very clear, I don't have any issue with that. Young man, if you feel like you identify and this is how you want your life to go, and you think that you're being deprived of the opportunity and you want to change those things about yourself, I empower you to do so. And I love you for doing that, because you're opting to be your truest, authentic self. And if you feel that you've been wrong to some degree by coming out as a boy, and then you really feel like you should be a woman, then you gotta chase that. You gotta find a way to make sure that you don't live life having any regret. But when it comes to sports, man, I don't think that y'all should go in and be able just to dominate and go in and win state championships and then deprive these young women of these opportunities if you're not willing to go over to the boys division and do that same thing. That would be my only thing. So I think what Tennessee's doing, I think it's appropriate. If the birth certificate lists the gender as male and they want to participate in those athletics, then they have to play against their, the boys. I know it gets messy, because then I had someone say to me, like, what about the bathroom situation? And what about that? Because we got rid of that, and we can't just tell people that they have to use a specific bathroom. And I'm like, I think that's a lot different. I think some of this is just coming from the fact that we're seeing videos of, athletes participating in, whatever their sport is. And you're seeing some of these young men who have now transitioned into being women. You're seeing them dominate these girls in a way that it is very, very evident that it's a little bit unfair. And sometimes it's more than a little bit. It's a lot of it. So, I don't know. Some people did not agree with the things that I had to say about it, but I'm not going to apologize for what I said. I'm not taking that shit back. I know someone told me that too. Like, you need to go on your show and you need to apologize and take some of that stuff back, because what you said was wrong. And I'm like, well, no, fan, because what I said was just my opinion. If you don't like my opinion, that's too bad for you. I was not disrespectful. I'm not offensive. I'm not saying F trans people or whatever. I know some people do that type of shit on shows. I'm not doing that. More power to you. But I think with the sports thing, we should have some rules put in place. That way you don't have some big ass dude who now is just like, fuck it, I've just decided that I'm a girl now. And I know this was one of the things that I said and that people hated. I know that that's not what happens. Obviously, it's a process, and it's their process. However they've decided to get to that point, I get it. But they still sign up to participate and try out for those specific athletic teams. So they do not try out for the boys team. They go try out for the girls team because they identify as female. That is totally fine. We have no problem with that. But say I'm a boy, and in the 9th grade, I'm only about 5'10", maybe. I'm not big. But then we have go through the summer and then school starts. And I come back to school and a lot of things are different about me. I've hit a growth spurt and I'm now 6'2". But I also have been feeling a certain type of way. And one of those ways is that I identify as female. So now I'm no longer going to participate in boys' sports. I'm going to participate in girls. But if you look at the size and stature, and if one of those sports happens to be wrestling, how do you have a division for that person? You probably don't. You're then putting a young lady in a position to where she wants to compete. She's going to have to wrestle that big ass boy. She won't have a choice. And if she goes to a meet and then decides that she does not want to, they're going to count it as a forfeit. So I hope you see what I'm saying. It impacts the sport for the girls more than it impacts the sport for this young man who is now transitioned or has now decided that they identify as a girl. One thing I will say is that I did on Tuesday when I talked about it, Cheese and I, mainly me, not her, we made some jokes. I talked about the Joanna Man movie. So I don't want anyone to think that I was, being dismissive or making it seem like it was very trivial. I was not trying to do that. I just make jokes. So that part I will apologize for. If people were offended by the fact that I kept making Joanna Man jokes, I'm sorry about that. But everything else I said, I stand behind that shit. If I'm a father, I don't want to see some big ass dude who potentially could be my size being in a wrestling match with my small ass daughter. And the only reason they end up wrestling is because she's probably, whatever her division is, if she's on, in that type of weight class, they have to range it up to accommodate this new boy. And then they're going to end up having to wrestle. I would not want that. If this guy who's 50, 60 pounds heavier than my daughter, and now they're having to wrestle, and the only way that she can compete within her sport is if she wrestles this young boy, I don't want to deal with that. And maybe it's selfish for me to say that as a father, I wouldn't want to deal with that. But the thing that I'm saying I wouldn't want to deal with is I wouldn't want to deal with having to explain to my daughter why life, I know you have to have these conversations anyway, but I don't feel like that's one of the times where I have to sit there and say, look, honey, I'm sorry, but life isn't fair. Because all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we went away from just making people play their position. And, we stopped doing that, and now we're trying to make all these accommodations to make every single person happy. I don't want to have to use that as why I have to look at my daughter and be like, hey, sorry, kiddo. Sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. Because that's not how the cookie crumbles. You're not having some 5'3" girl who's, 106 pounds soaking wet end up having to wrestle some 6'2" dude who's, 175. Like that's not how that shit goes. That's not girls wrestling. If you guys are going to have co-ed, then you need to set it up to where it's co-ed. You need to make sure that you have the draw for it. That way you can sufficiently run a league for co-ed wrestling if that's what the people want. If you don't have that, then the kids need to play according to what it says on their birth certificate. That's just my opinion. Now, obviously things can change. If over the course of time they find a way to make this shit work, then maybe I could see where I, bend a little bit on certain things. But I think for now, this is kind of where I'm standing. So if you don't like that, oh the fuck well. Get over it. But I think it's good that we all engage in conversation. So shout out to all the people that did reply to me about the show and about that specific topic. I'm glad that you guys said the things that you said to me, because it did give me something to think about. Because I definitely had to put myself in, your shoes in regards to you, expressing your thoughts and feelings. And I know there were some people that were telling me, well, how do you think it's going to make that young man feel who's now, becoming a young lady? And it's like they're already, things are already a little bit tough because they're not as accepted. And now this is another one of these things. And I'm totally on board with that. I get it. But my thing would be this. Strictly from an athletic standpoint, if you have the skill set to compete with the boys, why wouldn't you do it? Because if you're a real competitor, because sports is competition, there are winners and there are losers. And if you're going to play sports, you play with the intention to become and be a consistent winner. If you really believe in that and you believe in the idea of competition, you want to compete at the highest level. So if you have all the skills and talents, regardless of how you identify sexually, why wouldn't you just take your skills and play in the boys division? If you can win multiple state championships against the girls, if you have those type of skills, you can win against the boys, right? That would be my only thing about it. But I get where other people were coming from. So again, I appreciate you guys letting me know. And like I said, I'm not apologizing for my opinion. It's what I think. It's where I'm at. It is what it is. So, man, what else happened? I said December 26th, man. The Tuesday show was wild. And then Christmas was kind of wild. But let's jump into some of these articles, man. Because there was one in particular that I absolutely needed to talk about. And this cracks me up because the first thought that I had was, when the fuck did she have time to do this? And you're probably thinking, yo, what is fam talking about? We got, and it says former, so maybe it happened after the fact, but I don't think it would be an article if it happened after the fact. I'm talking about this lady who's a former corrections officer who gave birth to an inmate's baby. So like I said, my first thought is, how the fuck she do that? When do you have time to let him, get all up in it? Like, because he doesn't get to leave. And he has a very small room. And with a roommate. Probably an intense roommate. Like, again, not a small space. There isn't even a door. It's a gate. I don't know. Maybe it is a door. Some of these prisons actually have doors. But I don't think niggas are really in there by themselves. And even if he was, how is she getting in there, having enough time to get all her gear off, to let him get in it, stroke it, get out of it, put her gear back on, and then go back to work? How? How without being seen? Now, this is in Bennettsville, South Carolina. Holy shit. The South Carolina Department of Corrections says it has arrested a former corrections officer for sexual misconduct. According to the release, Giselle Viviana Kensington Moore, Jesus lady, how many names you got, was arrested and charged with first-degree sexual misconduct with an inmate and misconduct in the office. Kensington Moore was a corrections officer at Evans Correctional Institute in Bennettsville. Yo, this is wild. So look, it seems like she had a sexual relationship with an inmate between May and August of 2018. She listed the inmate's name as the child's father on the birth certificate. Oh my God. Well, congrats to you guys for having a newborn baby. I mean, I guess that's good. Fuck. There's not a whole lot I can really say about this. I'm still wondering about how she had enough time to like make all that shit work. And now you're probably about to, you're at least paying a fine. It said former, so I would assume that she no longer works as a corrections officer. But if you ever thought that you were going to have an opportunity within that career field again, that's done. Especially now because you're a household name. You made it on the Michael Jackson show, so you must be special. But yeah, like, you had a baby by this dude. And you know what this reminds me of? What's that show on Netflix? Was it Orange is the New Black? And old girl got pregnant by dude who was working there. I think Buddy only had like a half a leg or something like that. That shit was wild. But this is like, this shit come to life. Except the correctional officer is the female. Obviously the inmate is male. We don't know his name. They're probably not going to release that. But he's probably like the king of the prison. Yo, your family got a guard pregnant. But you never know. In South Carolina, I can see that happening to a lot of female corrections officers. Because I heard niggas over there are mad ugly. So maybe all the best looking niggas are in jail. That would be the only explanation for her to want to get pregnant by an inmate. Like, you don't have other options. But you know what? I could see it being this. I could see where a female correction officer to the outside world, or outside world of men, probably could be very intimidating if that man is not in law enforcement. If the man is in law enforcement, maybe he doesn't want to take a chance, because I'm sure they have pretty strict rules around, fornicating with your coworkers, so on and so forth. I'm sure there's workarounds, obviously, but maybe based on the fact that a lot of like civilian niggas probably get intimidated by girls with badges and guns, that maybe the only people who really aren't are the inmates. And maybe she just was, horny as hell and wanted to get it in. It happens. We all make mistakes. The only problem is that the mistake that she made was getting pregnant by a nigga that can never help her take care of her child, ever. I mean, unless he gets out, but I don't know. Come on, fam. Be honest with yourself. Was that the best decision that you could have made? The answer is no. But let's see. I saved a couple of recipes on my save list. I almost read one of these off to y'all because I thought that shit would be lit. Matter of fact, you know what? Let's change it up. So I'm not gonna go into all the details about everything that you need. If you want to get this recipe that I found, DM me and I'll shoot it over to you. But it's for cream cheese chicken tacos. Now I'm talking about this because I have not eaten all day. So I've literally probably been up since about 5:30 a.m. just getting it, and still had yet to eat due to stress and frustration. But you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking that these cream cheese chicken tacos would really hit the spot right now. Now, I'm obviously not about to eat this when I get off of the show, but this looks like a tomorrow dish for sure. So, cream cheese chicken tacos, man. And the ingredient list is very minimal. Oh yeah, this is going down. So, be sure to check me out, man. If you need this recipe, DM me, like the show, subscribe to the show, and then I'm going to send you the recipe. But my next story is, I want to talk about this thing that I saw because I thought this was super weird. Now, I want to make sure that I have the date correct on this because I'm not sure if this was like very recently. This might be a little bit old. But I'm reading this thing where it says that at Syracuse University, they had these students who, I guess they heard reports that a white supremacist manifesto had been airdropped to cell phones at the school library. It sounds like multiple students started obviously sharing the information because you know how quickly things get passed around, and people started to kind of get a little bit panicked. So it says that this alerted many students, as linking between white supremacy and mass shootings has been horrible in the United States. So because of that, I think people did get a little bit panicked. More than a little bit, a lot of it. Used that twice on the show. So it says, as soon as the manifesto spread amongst the students, panic set. It looks like there was one guy who had already begun to make evacuation plans. Now, the one reason why I wanted to bring this up is because, even when you think of like some college students, I mean, like, yeah, like they're still very young. And as much as we want to look at them as adults, a lot of them are still just kids, man. And so I can't imagine the thoughts that might have gone on in my head if someone would have airdropped to my cell phone a big ass like note or text or whatever. I mean, it said manifesto. So whatever it is, I don't know how I would react if I saw something like that and it had shit on there about them wanting to commit hate crimes against African American students or minorities in general at your school. I think they were saying that there were talks on there about So let me correct. I said it was like a text or a note or whatever. This was a 74-page anti-immigrant document. And apparently it was written by the Christ Church in New Zealand, or it was by the Christ Church New Zealand shooter, excuse me. So it was written by that person. And so I guess they shared this with a bunch of people. Da, 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 da. And apparently when this guy did this, he killed more than 51 people in New Zealand. Holy shit. And these are the things that, I did not know about this. So it was crazy, like, when I read the article, and it kind of links you to that article, and it's like, what are people thinking? And then to be a college student, to hear that someone is sharing that, and you don't know what their intent is, you don't know who it's going to be. You got to walk to class, you're walking from your dorm room, all of that type of stuff. At any moment, if you have to spend time walking around thinking that at any moment somebody could pop out of some bush, or someone could end up walking into the classroom where you're getting lectured, or while you're doing projects, or even at the library, if you were thinking that someone could potentially walk in there and start just blasting everybody, that's got to be a shitty way to live your life while you're at school. I would say for me, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about mass shooters because I don't know. I don't get that vibe in Seattle. And I also don't frequent places where I feel like an active shooter would be. But that's also one of the things, is that people think that, oh, it can never happen to me. So you should never think that. Never assume that you're not at risk, but also you shouldn't have to live your life in fear. I would say I'm somebody that I've been through active shooter training multiple times, based on, that I work with kids, and I work in a business where we help people and all those things. I've made peace with the fact that if I was ever in a situation where there was an active shooter, that my plan is that I would do everything I can to save the people around me, even if that means I lose my own life. And it's something that I thought about multiple times, and especially, like I said, I've been through active shooter training probably about 5 times, and it does not get any easier any of the times you take it, because you have to hear the horror stories. They talk to you about, the Dylan Roofs of the world. I mean, they don't say names specifically, but they talk to you about these people that go into these places and start shooting. They talk about, the movie theaters and Columbine and Virginia Tech and, Sandy Hook, all of these things. They literally give you a glimpse into what that life could potentially be like. And they also tell you that you should never feel pressured to feel like you have to try to take down the intruder. So it's okay just to, if you have the ability to and you can get away, try to get away. But I'm somebody that I've just made peace with the fact that, like, I'm not going to let a dude chop up the whole place. I feel like I'm agile enough, and you don't know until you're in the situation. I'm just saying, based on, my ratings in life, my awareness is 85, 90 awareness. I got like 83 speed. Let's see, about 96 power. Overall, I'm about an 85 to 87, somewhere in that range. So I think I'm good enough to take down an active shooter if I have the open opportunity. Now, if I just know that maybe, look, it's time to run, we might have to do that. But at the same time, like, I want to do everything to protect the people that are around me. So it's crazy to think that these young kids that go to these schools, and that there were other kids that go to school with them that talk about these things, pass around this manifesto. I mean, the thing's 74 pages, anti-immigrant manifesto. Can you believe that this guy in New Zealand really spent time drafting that up, and it's made its way into multiple schools, and it's in the hands of some of the most corny people who are just, they probably just need a hug. They need to be heard. They need to be loved. Some of them might be a little bit beyond repair, but damn, the people that have this thing are people who are miserable, they're unhappy with life, and they feel the best way to try to correct that is to take it out on other people, which is literally the worst thing that you can possibly do. I highlighted on this show, I'm blanking on the guy's name, but I know he played football at Oregon, and now he's a football coach at one of their high schools out there. And man, he stopped an active shooter at the high school, and how he did it was he took the gun from the guy and then he just gave him a big hug, which was the craziest thing to see. Obviously, there's no guarantees that you would ever have that opportunity in that situation. But, you know, you think of stories like that where the guy literally was able to protect and save so many students. And this young man who brought this gun to school, he really only was doing that because he just felt like people didn't give a shit about him. He was frustrated. He was stressed. And sometimes people they don't understand what their actual options are. And so they make bad decisions like that. But not every story will have that outcome. Unfortunately, we have way more stories that end in horror and people passing and, you know, having their lives taken than we do that are, you know, the successful ones. So all these people that are at this school, where's the school? I think this is at Syracuse. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on schools. Syracuse, that's crazy. I can't imagine what they must have been going through in those moments. Hopefully by now they've kind of, you know, gotten back to a state of relaxation. I'm sure with the Christmas break, maybe that makes things a little bit easier. Hopefully cops and authorities spend a lot of time trying to identify who started sharing this, and, you know, hopefully you apprehend that person or those people just to get them off the street. That way these kids can attend their classes and go to school without having to feel like they're at risk for being killed. And I know that probably will put their parents at ease too. Like, shit, man, some of these kids, they travel from very far places. I can't imagine if I'm in a different state or even overseas and my son or daughter's going to school and then I see on the news that, you know, their college campus has been involved in a shooting, all because some guy's just tired of like being denied by all, you know, all the hottest girls, or he or she is pissed off that people don't want to talk to him. Like, I'd rather those people seek help and get the help that they need rather than, you know, end up doing something that they're ultimately going to regret. And then you're going to have that added element of people losing their lives, and it destroys families, and it hurts everything. So hopefully they got this shit worked out. Hopefully as the kids come back from, you know, the holiday break, that they feel safe and that they actually can go to sleep at night and walk around and attend their classes without feeling like they're in fear. Man, that manifesto though, the fact that people actually spend time creating those things and then people share it and they think this shit is funny, those are the terrorists on this planet. It's usually not the people that you think it is, even though it should be the people that we think and know that it is. That's just crazy though. 74-page anti-immigrant document from a guy in New Zealand. And when he committed that heinous act, he killed 51 people. It's unreal, bro. Crazy shit. Anyway, look, we're through the first hour of the show. I appreciate you being here, tuning in to the Me and Uncle Jackson Show. We're live on Track Talk Radio every Tuesday, every Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, man. We're going to jump into some music. I'm going to take a short break, and then we're going to be right back, man. Thank you for tuning in. That's crazy, man. 74-page document airdropped to people's phones. Imagine you're just sitting goofing off on your phone, and then somebody airdrops that shit to your thing, and you open it, and it's plans to kill people just because they're not white. Unreal. Let's see, what else do I got? Get money. Man, I did a lot of these stories already. Man, I thought we had a ton of good stuff, but I guess the last hour I'm just going to get into reviewing and talking about the NBA games, since that was what my plan was. But I wanted to make sure that I suckered people into listening to the show by telling them it was going to be sports heavy, but not talking about sports. And then now, once I've got them all settled in, and they're thinking, oh shit, maybe he forgot, then I'm going to jump into it. I'm going to hit them hard. We're going to talk Lakers. We're going to talk LeBron. We're going to talk Golden State versus Houston. And I'm going to get into the James Harden thing. We are also going to talk Giannis versus Embiid. That was pretty crazy. And I didn't watch the Denver versus Portland game. I was asleep by then. So we're not going to talk about that, but hopefully Portland pulled that out. I didn't even check to see if they won that game. There are some people who have Denver picked to potentially maybe like compete for a chance to go to the NBA Finals, they were the second best team in the league technically last year record wise, behind Milwaukee. I think they were, but they didn't play like they were the second best team in the playoffs. So maybe this year with the talent that they have, the roster that they have, maybe they'll put something together that's pretty good and pretty special, and maybe they'll win something. But I mean, that's why they play all the games. Oh, shout out to JJ for getting my cup. I don't know if you can see that, but my homegirl, Jennifer, she's a part of the show, big deal with the show. She sent me this for Christmas. Hey, gifts for the show. And we need that here. So that's how we talk in the Clink. If you know who that is, it's Prison Mike. That's one of Michael Scott's little characters that he does on The Office. So, hey, shout out to all the people that got me office gifts. Cheese hooked me up with a Dwight sweatshirt. It said Air Dwight, so it's Dwight Schrute. I'm not wearing it tonight, but I'll probably wear it on the next show. But yeah, man, Christmas was good. Lots of stuff to be thankful for. Happy to be around some good people and be blessed and, live to see another day. Just all the standard stuff. So I hope everyone around me had as good of a Christmas as I did. Mine was super low key. I think that's good. There were minimal tears shed. There are usually tears shed around this time only because I associate Christmas with a lot of struggle, stress, and pain, but I do try to allow myself to embrace and enjoy all the good moments that do come out of being around people who are in the holiday spirit. I try to feed off of them and try to soak in some of their good vibes in hopes that it'll suppress all the negative feelings that I have about Christmas, and hopefully it elevates and brings out all the good feelings that I have. And so I will say over the years, I have gotten a lot better. Haven't been as mad, haven't been as angry. Today obviously was not an easy day by any stretch of the imagination. But it's still all a process. I feel like, growth is, at least the fact that I'm able to acknowledge this shit, and then, we're taking steps and putting things in place to ensure that, when this time of year rolls around, that we're in a position every year to be a little bit stronger than the year previous. So I think I did a pretty good job, man. Like I said, today was a bit of a struggle. But look, man, all my people are good. My family's good. And I'm good. So we good. But yeah, man, they're listening to this is old school. Y'all remember I'm Going In featuring Lil Wayne and Drake? I can't even believe I have that playing right now. I forgot about that record. That shit is not very, very hot now, but it was hot back in the day. That's when Drake first came out too. I think that's when he still was in the wheelchair on Degrassi. What's his name? Jimmy? Something like that. I don't be remembering, bro. But anyway, we got about 20 seconds and we're jumping back into the show, and then we're diving into the sports, man. Let's get it. Bitch, I'm going in. I'm going in. Anyway, let me stop the music. Yo, man, it's lit. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Meaningful Jackson Show. We're in our second hour already, man. I'm surprised because usually, I was telling Cheese this the other day, usually my Thursday shows, they seem a little bit slower, mainly because by the time Thursday hits and I've gotten to that point in the week, I'm a little bit tired. But because I've been on vacation, I had a little bit more energy today. So we're powering through. Show started out a little bit slow only because of the fact that, like I said, today's been a day. A little bit exhausted, dragging a little bit, but I would say for a Thursday show, we're doing pretty good. I told you guys in the beginning that we were going to jump into some of the sports stuff. So now, here it is. Yesterday, like I do on most Christmases, I watched NBA basketball. Christmas Day games for the NBA I think they're getting to the point where I'm not going to say it's the same as the Super Bowl, but if the NBA has a Super Bowl type of deal When I'm talking about a one-day event that is packed full of intrigue, action, so on and so forth, the Christmas Day basketball slate is that. People really get up for it. You get to see really good games with all like the best, not all of them, but most of the best players in the league. They all play on Christmas Day. I know some people would say, well, it's kind of like the NFL playing on Thanksgiving Day. It's kind of like that, but I feel like the NBA, because of the way they promote the players, it's more like a Super Bowl setup because you are seeing the best guys. The uniforms are usually different. Everybody's got colorful shoes on, and then there's also the stuff on the back end that they do where they do a lot of events and charity work for kids. It's just it's a major day, and it's on a day when we celebrate, obviously for a lot of people it's the birth of Christ, and then it's Christmas, and then there's kids and there's joy and all this. And what better way to kind of go through that day than watching basketball? If you were a basketball fan like me, that's what I like to do. So it's kind of a big deal. So yesterday we started off the day where we had, who played first? Somebody played first. That game was not very good. I do remember watching that game, and it just was not very good. So let me pull it up on ESPN so I can make sure that I give you the right facts. So I'm gonna go through this game by game. Let's see, scores, and then we're gonna go. How do I go back a day? So we had. Oh, that's right. Celtics Raptors. Okay, so let's go into that. So yesterday, Raptors got to play on Christmas Day. You had Kyle Lowry's first time playing on Christmas Day, which was interesting. And then the Raptors, they didn't handle business, which I wasn't really surprised by that. Siakam didn't play, and now that Kawhi Leonard has left the Toronto Raptors to be playing with the Los Angeles Clippers, Pascal Siakam is essentially their best player. And then Kyle Lowry is probably second. And then Fred VanVleet and Serge Ibaka together make up a third best player. Because both of those guys, they give production, but it's equivalent to 1/3 superstar, even though it's two people. The game wasn't bad, but the Celtics clearly looked to be a lot more dominant than what I thought, or what I think people were expecting them to be. I think now at this point in the season, and especially since Kyrie's been in Brooklyn, but he hasn't been playing due to a shoulder injury, there are a lot of people who are finally kind of admitting that the Celtics maybe are better off with Kemba rather than Kyrie. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think Kemba has more. It's tough because Kemba's a great player, and I love Kemba from the UConn days. I think he's a tremendous hooper. He can hoop with the best of them. But I think at the guard position, if you're matching up him and Kyrie, I think I would take Kyrie over Kemba. But when you look at like how does a player impact a team, how does he elevate his teammates, all of that type of stuff. If you are somebody that really, really cares about those things while you watch a team go on their journey to try to win a championship, I think a lot of people are now getting to that point where they're taking Kemba over Kyrie. And it's mainly because Kyrie is just kind of known now as somebody that tends to have problems everywhere he goes. So there were issues with LeBron in Cleveland, and then, there's issues with Boston. And now, even though he hasn't really been playing, people are trying to say there's issues in Brooklyn. I think Kyrie is just a unique person. He does what he does. He comes to work every day. He plays hard. He really wants to win. Maybe he's kind of a dick while he's at work, but it is what it is. I think his production plus his production value outweighs the attitude. I'm just somebody that believes in that because I know if I'm a boss, I want the work done. Now, I don't want you in there disrespecting your coworkers or treating people like shit, but I think that sometimes people just need to show up, do their stuff, go home, not take it so personally, because it should never really be you versus your coworkers or your teammates. It should always be you guys versus the work. That's it. So like I said, I was expecting Toronto to kind of put up a better showing, but the Celtics ended up besting them. Jaylen Brown is actually looking like a much more improved player. I don't know how I feel about Tatum. I thought Tatum was going to make a much bigger leap from rookie year to second year to third year. He's not bad, but he seems like he's about the same player that we saw in his rookie year, which it just seems weird to me. Now, he does have his moments where he really is like giving you some glimpses of the greatness that he could potentially have. But some of the issue is that, like I said, he looks like he's about the same as he was in his rookie year. But Tatum still was killing. But shout out to the Celtics. They didn't do half bad. But obviously it was not a game that I was, really spending a ton of time watching. I think I watched most of it, and then I ended up starting to do laundry and run errands and all that type of shit. So then that brought us to our second game, the game that I actually did give a shit about. For those of you that know me, and I've said this on the show to make this clear that I'm not just somebody that jumped on the bandwagon this year, last year, or the year before, but I'm somebody who has been, I don't want to say lifelong, but I have always been an off and on fan of the Milwaukee Bucks. From the Glenn Big Dog Robinson days, the Ray Allen days, the Terrell Brandon days. Who else do we have? Michael Redd, he played on the team. I miss Larry Sanders. Larry Sanders was one of my favorite players. He played for Milwaukee. So my point is to say that I didn't just start becoming a fan when Giannis just started taking over the league. So I am a Bucks fan. So I was hyped to see one of my squads play. Two of my teams played on Christmas Day. So it was a big day for me. Neither of my teams won, which is a very big disappointment because both of my teams are hopefully going to play each other in the finals. Lakers versus Bucks. So the Bucks-Sixers game comes on, and we're all talking about Giannis. He's improved. He's shooting threes now. He's going to be one of the most dominant. And then one of the big matchups is the fact that Giannis is about 6'11". He's going to have to go up against Embiid. And one of Giannis's, biggest, one of the ways that he's able to dominate is by getting to the paint. The problem is Embiid is a rim protector. So when you're watching the game yesterday, you're literally watching Giannis struggle to score points. We even saw some things that were uncharacteristic of him. When you saw him get slapped in the eye by Josh Richardson, which obviously was a missed call by the refs. They should have called a foul, but they did not. And then you saw him not really attack the referee, but kind of get hyped up. He looks like he punches his hand in a show of frustration, which was weird because usually you see Giannis, and even though he's fierce and intense, he's somebody that usually is like laughing, joking, and he's just, it wasn't way out of character. I'm glad that it happened because it kind of shows like, oh, well, you have that in you, like, and you have some of that side to you where, I don't know if I want to see a guy who's just always super duper positive. Sometimes I might think like, do you really care about this? I think he cared about the fact that they were losing. He cared about the fact that he wasn't able to dominate the Sixers like he'd been dominating everybody else, and I think it was clear that there's still a lot of work to be done. In the playoffs, it's going to be hard to just dribble the ball down the court, do one crossover at the top of the key, spin, and then get all the way to the rack and then lay it up. You're going to have big-ass dudes down there like Embiid who are built to stop any shots that are put up directly in front of the rim. It looked like when Giannis was driving to the rack, he was stopped on multiple occasions. Obviously, he is shooting the ball a little bit better, but I think the thing that makes it tough for him is the fact that he is not a great outside shooter. He shoots free throws at an okay rate, but still not all of that great. And that's one of the things that he's going to have to spend the rest of the season working on. And hopefully when the playoffs hit, all of that shit starts to click at once. If it all can click at once, when they have to face Philadelphia, no matter what round it is in, they will beat them with relative ease if he's able to figure it out and force them to switch up their matchups and just do something that's different. Until that happens, everybody kind of has the blueprint on Giannis. He's not going to shoot the outside shot as much, but now, because he is shooting it, you have to kind of respect it. I mean, earlier, I think, was it last week when I was watching him play a game? He made like 5 threes or something like that. I think it was against the Lakers, maybe. I don't know. He played against somebody. He hit like 5 out of the 8 3-pointers that he took. So there are, at times, it's in there within him to where he can make those shots. You just have to hope that it shows up in one of the 4 games that they have to win in a playoff series. So the game yesterday looked like a bit of a struggle for the Bucks. That game ended up being 121-109. I agree. When I heard a lot of the pregame conversations that like Jalen Rose and a lot of these media outlets were having, and they were talking about the fact that they think that although Giannis has become a better shooter, they still think that there is a significant amount of work that needs to be done if he cannot knock down the shot consistently, especially when it comes to playoffs. We all know that playoff basketball is all run in the half court. If you're not able to knock down shots, it's going to be tough. Another one of the things that they said is that they think that Milwaukee needs to add another actual star. Not a lot of people believe that Chris Middleton is the guy to play second fiddle. You need to have somebody else. Eric Bledsoe hasn't been a huge disappointment, but he is not living up to the expectations and standards that we thought that he would be at, especially at this point in his career. Because when he first came to the Clippers, everybody was thinking like, holy shit, like you got him as a backup to Chris Paul. This guy's crazy athletic. He can shoot the ball a little bit. And Eric Bledsoe played on one of those Kentucky teams that John Calipari had that had like 5 or 6 guys that play in the league now that are all stars. And I'm talking about where they were all splitting minutes throughout the game, and you couldn't tell who was any good and who wasn't because they all had superior athletic abilities. They all could do all of the things that you want out of a basketball player. But unfortunately, EB, he's currently hurt, but he should be back this week or next or something like that. But he just has not been living up to the hype. Now, yesterday against the 76ers, it seemed like the Bucks couldn't buy a bucket. And then so what happens is Giannis goes into panic mode, and then he's trying to dribble drive and try to do the spin move and then try to finish at the rim every time. And that just ends up being tough because of the fact that if that is not working and they're able to protect the paint, you're going to end up drawing a bunch of offensive fouls, or you're going to commit a lot of turnovers, and you're just not going to end up scoring as many buckets as you would like. And the shooters weren't working. So it seems like a lot of media outlets agree that the Bucks need to find a second star. Who knows if that's going to happen? I think if it doesn't happen and Milwaukee doesn't win the championship, Giannis will probably end up having to go to another team, because there would be no reason to stay with Milwaukee if you can't get another star to come there. Now, you know who I would love to see go to Milwaukee, but I know Phoenix would never let it happen. But I would love to see Devin Booker go be the guy in Milwaukee with Giannis. Could you imagine D-Book in the East with Giannis, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Robin Lopez, like their Ilyasova, like the team that they have, if they could pull off some type of deal where they were able to bring Devin Booker to Milwaukee, I'm not going to say the trophy's guaranteed, but that's the type of player that Milwaukee needs. They need someone who can create their own shot off the dribble and somebody that can force the defense to take notice. When Giannis or anyone on their team, when they're bringing the ball on the court, you're only keyed in on Giannis because you know that that's where the ball is going. And even if another player jacks up a shot, you have to focus all your attention on boxing out because you can't allow Giannis to get the freaking rebound. But if they added a player like Devin Booker, I think Milwaukee would be unstoppable. Unstoppable. Then we got to the game that ended up being the best game of the day. And this was super crazy because I'm going to be honest with you. I thought this was going to be the night that James Harden scored 82 points to best Kobe. I thought for sure that this would be the night where Houston could win by 100. If they really put in enough effort, they should have won by 100 based on the team that Golden State has. Depleted. And when I say depleted, you're talking about Kevin Durant is on a new team. Klay Thompson recovering from an ACL tear. Steph Curry, broken wrist or something like that. So literally, they have, they have Draymond Green, and they did acquire D'Angelo Russell, which some people say he's a good player. Last year, he went to his first All-Star game, I think. I think it was his first. I know that he did go to the All-Star game, but I'm not sure if it's his first or his second. But you have Russell Westbrook, beast, and then James Harden, who's literally averaging 39 a game. Prior to yesterday's game, the Warriors were like 7-24 or some shit like that. They won 7 games all year, bro. You're talking about a team who spent the last 5 years competing for championships every year to now they have 7, well, now it's 8. They now have 8 wins on the season. I literally was expecting the game to be a blowout. You're expecting James Harden to light them up for 50, 60, 70, maybe 80 plus points. And Golden State kept it close the entire game. And then you're literally watching James shoot all these step-back three-pointers. And he still scored. Russ still scored. But Russ took 32 shots to get 30 points, which he's not shooting a great percentage. Their ISO ball is the only thing that they really look to use as far as an offense is concerned. Which, again, if we're talking about playoff basketball, playing in the half court, you can't just play ISO ball. That's why the Rockets don't win. I continue to hear people say that James Harden is doing things that we've never seen before. He's unstoppable. No one in the league can guard him. And I'm glad I have a show because now I can say this. I want to start by saying that I am a fan of James Harden. I think he's a great hooper. Offensively, he's phenomenal. Now, I know people are trying to say his defense is much improved, but let's face it, he still does not play good defense. So you're talking about if he was at 0, much improved is now he's at 3 of 20, if that's a scale that I'm using. That's how bad the defense is sometimes. Now, he does get a lot of steals, playing the passing lane, so on and so forth, but I think that's because his teammates are actually guarding, and then he's able just to sag off, and then when the ball gets loose, he can grab it and then take off and run. So I'm not going to say that he's not playing defense at all, but he's just not a great defender. So people are saying he's unstoppable, he's doing things that we've never seen, but I'm here to tell you that I do not feel like that is true. He's doing things that we've never seen because for the longest time, there were not many coaches in the league who would allow any player to take 30-foot step-back three-pointers. That did not become a thing until he started doing it a couple years ago. There are plenty players in the league who can make those shots and make them with consistency. But the game of basketball has traditionally not been set up for one player just to shoot 30-foot three-pointers. The Houston Rockets are a regular season basketball team. They will not win a championship playing basketball the way that they play. You cannot just have one guy dribble the ball down, dribble the shot clock out, and then shoot a 30-foot three-pointer. And then, if he doesn't make 4 or 5 in a row, what he does is he allows the other best player to bring the ball down so he can stand there and watch the other guy dribble, and then shoot a broke-ass mid-range jumper. Now, I'll say that Russ and then Giannis are my 2 favorite players actively playing right now. Just because of the energy, the excitement, how hard they play at all times. The one thing I wish for Russ is that I wish he could shoot a lot better. Because right now he's shooting like 20-something% from the three-point line. Like I said, he took 32 shots yesterday just to get 30 points. He's not putting up efficient numbers. You have to hope that that gets corrected before playoff time. Because if Houston is depending on James Harden to run ISO ball, and they're hoping that they're going to win a championship, it won't happen. You never see this guy move without the ball. Traditionally, great shooting guards play off the ball. They move without the ball. They're able to catch and shoot. They have offensive diversity. James Harden has 0 of that. But what he does have is he has this move that is literally unguardable. Now, I'm also a big believer in if it ain't broke, why fix it? If nobody's stopping it, I get why he uses it so much. But my thing to their team would be, look, y'all at least have to have an option B or an option C, because when the playoffs hit, he's not going to be able just to sit out there and shoot these three-pointers the whole time. And even if he does have that opportunity, if they're not going in, you guys are going to screw yourself. You're not going to have a chance to win the championship. It will not happen. Houston ended up losing to Golden State yesterday. And it's the most impressive victory that Golden State has on the season. But as Steve Kerr said, hey, we've only won 7 games. Technically now it's 8. Not too many of them have been very impressive. So, of course, this was the most impressive one. They're talking about you guys went and beat a team that had all their superstars, and you had 0 of your superstars. And I will say this, shout out to Draymond Green. He hadn't been playing well either. And yesterday, he put his team on his back and he carried them. And that was one of the things that I remember when the season started, people were talking about was, now you get to see, is Draymond Green actually a good player, or has he been riding the coattails of his superstar friends? And he took those young, inexperienced guys. I mean, one of the guys playing on the team is Steph Curry's brother-in-law. Now, I doubt there's nepotism. I'm sure they just picked him up because he's a good player, but like, he's not even somebody who would be getting burned if Steph and Clay and a couple of these other guys were actually out there playing. You have these random guys who are playing. They're all D-League guys or guys who they've plucked off the street from overseas basketball or something. And Draymond put them on the back, and they went out and they got the victory against the Houston Rockets, a team that people think is going to go to the championship. That shit's crazy. Listen, if you are a Houston Rockets fan, your team is not winning the championship. And if you need reasons why, go back and watch the game from Christmas Day. Watch how James Harden plays that basketball game. Watch how Russ plays that basketball game, and then ask yourself, if they play like this, are they going to win a championship? The answer is no. Whew. All right. So the next game that I watched was the game that everybody was waiting for. Clippers-Lakers. The Lakers were home team yesterday. Now, if you don't know, most of you should know this, but the Clippers and the Lakers, they live in the same apartment together. So they share the Staples Center, which is so weird because now this is literally the first time ever when there's equal, and it might be a little bit greater for the Clippers just based on the blockbuster moves that they made. But I will say this is one of the few times in history, it's probably the only time in history this has happened, where the hype for both teams is fairly similar. The Lakers have 16 championships. The Clippers have they have no championships, but I can't even think of any banners that they might have hanging up in that building. The Lakers have multiple banners hanging up in that building. There's no way the Clippers would ever surpass the Lakers and become Big Brother unless they went out and won 17 championships, which will not ever happen. But because of the moves that the Clippers made this year, and shout out to Steve Ballmer, Microsoft's finest, based on the moves that him and his team and, Doc Rivers and all the moves that they're making, they're able to acquire Paul George. They were able to pull Kawhi Leonard, and then obviously you re-sign Beverly, which that turns out to be a very good thing because Beverly is one of these guys who's just a grinder. He's had to fight and work for everything that he's ever gotten. There were no free lunches for him. I think he came out this year and he said that he has spent almost like $1 million on trying to get to the NBA. And at least thankfully now he got the contract that he deserves to try to get some of that money back because he definitely has earned it. And he was the one who saved the game yesterday. So this is the first time in a long time where the hype for the Clippers is equal to, maybe even greater than what the Lakers hype is. So they come in, they have a good team. The game was really good. The Lakers led for a large portion of the game. I think at one point they even had like a 15 or 16 point lead maybe. And then the trouble began. Over the course of the game, you start to see where the load management thing works in favor of the Clippers and works against the Lakers. So LeBron has suffered a groin, or he re-aggravated a groin injury that I think he's been dealing with. And this is how he got hurt last year around the same time. He hurt his groin. And so I think he's still dealing with that. And then yesterday he took a knee from Patrick Beverley while he was trying to take a charge, and he got hit in the groin. He went from trying to get to the rack and trying to get layups to then, because of the ailments in his body, he was just shooting three-pointers. LeBron James is not a great shooter, not even a great free throw shooter. So that's where load management hurts them, because LeBron refuses to do it, which I can respect that, because he wants to be an Iron Man. If he has the ability to play the games, he will play, which is super dope, because he understands that. And he said this in his 17th year, you got to think there's people who are coming out to see him. He doesn't know how much time he's going to have left. And so you want to give it every chance you can go. You want to try to go. And that's respect, true respect. It's not to say that what Kawhi is doing is not respectable. I don't think it's that, because they've made it very clear that he has something going on with his knee, or something in the lower half of his body, which it doesn't allow for him to productively play back-to-back games throughout the course of an 82-game NBA season, plus the other 16 games that you have to win in order to win the championship. And you could play close to 25 to maybe 30 total if your team is not very good and you guys are splitting games. I say if every series goes to 7 games, you could end up playing tons of freaking games. And not everybody wants to do that. So I can kind of understand why they load manage him. But you could see yesterday where Kawhi looked a little bit more fresh than LeBron did. Obviously, PG's still, healing from his shoulder injuries. But he was looking pretty good out there. And then the Clippers come back. And because the Lakers they're doing things a little bit differently than a lot of teams are doing. LeBron was only shooting three-pointers, but he was also your primary ball handler. You cannot have LeBron running the point guard position. That is bad news for you. I don't understand why they have Rondo on the team and why they don't actually let Rondo be the point guard for the team. Why do you have LeBron doing that? You could tell as the game continued to proceed that he started to get worn down because of his groin. He's not able to get to the rack the way that he wanted to, but he is having to rely on a shot that he really does not have. Now, he can make three-pointers with some pretty decent consistency, but he's not a great three-point shooter. And it looked rough towards the end of that game. Lakers ended up giving up that 15-point lead, and the Clippers come back and they end up beating them 111-106. Crazy. Patrick Beverley ends up saving the game at the end by getting the game-winning strip on LeBron. And I said this on my Facebook or something. The reason why that shit happened is because LeBron has no bag. And what I mean by that is that I don't think LeBron has any moves that people haven't already seen. Now, his moves are better than most people's. And so he's able to not have to use a ton of different variations to get a shot off. All his stuff can be pretty simple. It's all predicated on power. So a lot of it is a couple of dribbles here, a sidestep, whatever. But he went into that same dusty-ass three-pointer that he always goes to, and it's his equivalent to doing the James Harden thing. He literally will hesitate a little bit, maybe give you the slight little jab step, and he's going to take a hard power dribble to the right, and then he's going to try to fade away to the side, not backwards, but then he fades away a little bit to the side, and then he'll shoot the three-pointer. Beverly was ready for that, and right when LeBron went into the dribble and then went up for the shot, he stripped it. And that's all because LeBron does not have what Mike had, what Kobe had. LeBron has his own set of skills that nobody else will ever have. That is 100% facts. LeBron is a great player in his own respect, but he does not have what these other guys had. He doesn't have the ability off the dribble to really create his own shot against a superior elite perimeter defender. It just does not happen. And you saw it yesterday, even though Patrick Beverley's like 13 inches shorter than he is, you saw where Beverley accepted the challenge and he wanted to make sure that if someone was going to stop LeBron, that it was going to be him. And he did that shit. It was dope. And Beverley said at the end of the game, the thing that is helping propel him is that he has fucking heart. And that's a direct quote, fucking heart. That's how he's able to get the stop. And he still gave LeBron his respect. Hey, LeBron's one of the greatest in the game, da-da-da-da-da. But I love the fact that Patrick Beverley ends up being the person who saves the game for them. Now, I will also say this. When LeBron gets that mismatch at the end of the game, and I know because his groin was hurt, it's probably why he didn't do this, but you got to know that second you get Beverley matched up on you, you got to either back him down or you're trying to do one dribble and you're trying to get to the rack. Going into the side step three-pointer thing that you try to do, that was a terrible decision because that's not really your shot. I know he's made that shot so many times. We have game winners with that shot on tape. I totally get that. But I think in that moment, that is not the shot for you. Either that or pass the damn ball. But he literally burned up the shot clock or the game clock just to try to take that last attempt, and then ended up getting stripped. And then when they went back and reviewed it, the ball ended up being out on LeBron, which he didn't think it was out on him. But, I mean, look, they reviewed it. It was obviously out on you. You didn't even get an opportunity to take a final shot. And that happens sometimes, so that's not really on you. But I just think LeBron, he should know better. He's been in the league for so long. He just has to make a better decision than that. So it's kind of disappointing to see both of my teams lose on Christmas Day, but it was also kind of dope to see them play. I've been a very critical fan of the Lakers. The last time the Lakers were any good was 2010. And that was basically the last year that we had the good version of Kobe Bryant. And even then, he was not all that great because he was coming off injuries. And then ever since then, the team has been garbage. The nigga's been garbage. But now that we got LeBron, and last year was not good either. I know people were like, oh, they were the 4th seed, and then LeBron hurt his groin, and then he missed 17 games, and then da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, they were trash. And I told people it wouldn't have mattered if he would have played in those games because they didn't have the personnel to win anything. They would have got to the first round. I don't think they would have got swept because you're never going to sweep LeBron, really. I mean, I think he has been swept before, but that's a hard thing to do. The only way you're sweeping LeBron is if you're loaded like Golden State was, where you have all of these players and he has nobody, which is probably what his situation would have been last year. So he's probably lucky that they didn't go to the playoffs because they probably would have got swept. But this year, circumstances are a little bit different. He's got Anthony Davis, he's got Danny Green, we got Rondo again. You got KCP. We got JaVale McGee. Dwight Howard's on the team. Honestly, I've been very critical of Dwight over the last few years too, but shout out to him. He's finally got his shit together, and he's being a very productive member of a championship contending team. So, although I was disappointed that both my teams lost, the Lakers played pretty good, man. I'm excited about the direction they're going, but I think if LeBron doesn't sit some of these games that don't really matter, by the time they get to April or late March, early April, May, and then June, all that type of shit, he's going to be burnt out and they will not be able to win. It won't happen. So we got to get LeBron on some load management or something, man. But anyway, we only got about 20 minutes left, man, and I'm done with the sports talk. That was all I have for that. So we're going to take a short break, jump into some music, and then we'll be right back, man. Thank you for tuning in. This is the Memecool Jackson Show. I am your host, Memecool Jackson, and we are lit like always. Let's get it. Yeah, man, LeBron needs to learn how to take a break every now and again. Bro, if you burn yourself out and then you get hurt, you're not going to be able to win a championship. And in the end, it won't be worth it. Y'all went out. You got Anthony Davis. You signed Danny Green. You have players now, and he has the best set of players he's ever had outside of the point guard position, because Kyrie was one of the best dudes that he had. Holy shit. I'm literally watching this football game and these players get into it and Buddy just punched the referee. Or it looked like he punched him. Maybe he took a swipe and Buddy just ducked out of the way so he fell. But damn, the quarterback took a late hit and then the quarterback also just took a swing at a player and then also maybe just hit the referee. That was crazy shit. Pittsburgh versus Eastern Michigan. Buddy on Eastern Michigan he wants all of the smoke. And the game is close too. There's 10 seconds left and Pitt is up 4. Holy shit. They took a really late hit. Well, it didn't really look like it was that late. But I think Buddy, oh snap, he just got up and just smacked one of the players randomly and then smacked another dude and smacked the ref. Oh shit. Yo, this is their quarterback. Eastern Michigan's quarterback is wilding right now. Holy shit, bro. You're probably kicked off the team for that. But it just goes to show you, man, these refs must watch NBA basketball games because the ref just flopped like a motherfucker. He didn't even take the strike. He just flopped on the damn ground like a fish out of water. Shit. This is crazy. I forgot what I was even talking about. We're talking about LeBron. Oh, they finally got players, man. Listen, man, you got to rest or y'all not going to win. And we need the championship now because there ain't no guarantees that you're going to be able to win it next year or the year after that or the year after that. So try to get the W now, which means you might have to skip some regular season games, fam. It's okay. I know people pay their hard-earned money to go watch you, but shit, they'll be all right. Yo, this quarterback is wild, bro. I wish that y'all could see this. Oh, he didn't smack him. He smacked the ref's hat as he went to punch the other player in the face. Yo, Buddy just swung on 2 football players on Pitt and the referee. My nigga is a G. What is your name, bro? I'm trying to see his name. I think it's Glass something. What's his name? Glass the Third. Damn. I wonder if his dad and his grandfather be wild like this too. He feels stupid as shit. Because even though there's only 10 seconds left, yo, they still have time. Mike Glass. Why does it say Mike Glass Sr., but it says the third? That's weird. Damn, they ejected him. Well, of course. I mean, he took multiple swipes at people. So now, is their backup quarterback about to do the unthinkable? Probably not. But we're going to see. Preston Hitchinson. This is your chance to shine. Shit, let me get back to this. Hold up. Yo, hold on. I had to stop the music because we're like running low on time. But I'm literally in here watching a bowl game. Well, and it's over now. But this is Pitt versus Eastern Michigan. And the quarterback from Eastern Michigan, this is with 10 seconds left. Buddy rolls out to the left. He throws a pass. And it looks like he takes a late hit. But it wasn't really late. I think he's just frustrated. So he gets up. And it wasn't even the player who tackled him, just a random guy beside him. He gets up and he punches that dude in the face mask with his helmet on. Strikes that dude. The referee comes over and then the quarterback, this is the quarterback for Eastern Michigan. His name is Mike Glass III. He then turns to another player and gets in that guy's face. As the ref comes up, he takes a punch or throws a punch at that dude, hits the referee in the hat / in the face, and then also hits that other guy. This is all with 10 seconds left in the game, and they're down 4 to Pitt in their bowl game. And then he got ejected. They brought the backup in, and they were on like 4th down too. That's also what's crazy about it. The backup comes in, throws one pass, it goes incomplete, and then the game is over. But my nigga literally just spazzed out and took a swing and damn near knocked the referee's head off. That shit is wild, bro. I'm surprised they're not fighting after the game. I think the only person who was mad out of both these teams was the quarterback for Eastern Michigan. Shout out to them. They just lost the game 34-30. Eastern Michigan was 6-7. Pitt was 8-5. Gotta love bowl season, man. Shit, man. My voice is running out. It is what it is, man. I don't know. I didn't drink enough water today. And I didn't even finish my tea. I just had the tea sitting here. I was talking so damn much, being so damn annoying, that the tea just got cold. And I'm not getting up to reheat it until the show is over. So, let's see. It's 8:50, man. Holy smokes, man. We burned through the entire show. Let's see. I think I got one more thing that I wanted to talk with y'all about. Get money. So, I'm looking at this. So this is what I want to talk about. I didn't watch the whole video. I just saw a small clip of it. But I've also seen a couple other videos of this young rapper. And I don't know anything about him. I've never really listened to his music. I don't care for him. But I think some of the things that he says and some of the things that he does are just a tad bit corny, but I don't know. Maybe I don't have enough context. But this young gentleman's name is Blueface. Now, I know last week or 2 weeks ago, he was on film basically saying that people who are like, I want to try not to get this wrong, but like people who are like Facebook comedians and like other people like that, when they try to like go to become rappers, he was basically saying that they just don't have it, which is weird because he is somebody who is fairly new to the rap game. And like I said, I've heard little small samples of his songs, and I remember he's the guy that people were clowning because he doesn't rap on beat, but he's not a good rapper. So that right there for me was like, fam, why are you giving tips or telling people if they should or shouldn't rap when you're somebody who we should have told you that you shouldn't rap? I even think his own sister put a diss track out about him, which I think that's weird. If your own sister, who's not a rapper, makes a diss track about you, something must be off. But there was a video that surfaced of him the other day where he apparently went to Skid Row in Los Angeles. If you know anything about that area, that is a place where a lot of drug addicts and homeless people all hang out. And it's a very strange thing, but it's one of those areas that people all around the world know about because it's a big deal in Los Angeles. There is a video of him standing on top of a car. And I can understand maybe what you're trying to accomplish in regards to what the deed itself is. But I think by you standing on top of a car and just throwing money out into the air like you're at the club, and then watching people who are potentially suffering from mental illness or they're displaced from their homes. You have people who are potential drug addicts. You're literally throwing money up, and I know that he's not saying this, but I'm taking it in some weird way as like, it's almost like here, fight for this shit. You're throwing out money to people who do not have money and who are in dire need. Now, you can look at it and say, well, it's for the holidays, and, the fact that he went down there, and you know how people try to because they want this guy to be a good guy, get it. And we do this for people. You're going to have those people who are like, well, no, what he did was great, and he's helping out the people, and this and that, and da-da-da-da-da. I'm just looking at it differently. I think by him standing on the roof of that car and just throwing the money out up into the air like that, I think that shit was corny. I don't think you did those people a favor. You didn't spend time, at least on the video. I don't know what he did after the video was over, but on the video, you're not showcasing yourself spending time connecting with these people and talking to them, and then you maybe giving the money as a small gift or token after the fact. It's just you pulling up to an area and then tossing money out to people who you obviously recognize and probably view as beneath you or less than. Like I said, I'm only evaluating what I saw on the video. If after the video shit was different, then hey, we need to see that shit. But it looked like he was just treating them like shit, in my opinion. Regardless of whether or not you gave them money, not everybody, yes, people want money, but not everybody always wants money. Think about some of those people who were just down there alone, by themselves, and it's the holidays. Man, what if you just went down there and you just talked to them? And I saw somebody talking about, oh man, he's doing such a good deed, and look how he's helping these people. And I'm like, what? When you watch that video, it just shows the lack of respect and appreciation that this young man has. and that he has yet to develop. I think over time, he'll look at things like this and he'll look at it and say, the idea to help these people by giving them money so they could then go do whatever, that probably is good, but the approach should probably be different. I don't think you standing on top of that roof and throwing out that money was a good way for you to use your celebrity, use your platform to raise awareness and actually help people. It looked like a garbage ass publicity stunt. That's just my opinion. Now, you had people that actually came out and defended him. Tiffany Haddish is somebody that she thinks what he did was cool. And it look, because he's receiving criticism for a viral video of him making it rain on the homeless and destitute people living on Skid Row in downtown Los Angeles. She claims that Blueface's charitable actions are somewhat of a tradition. And I don't know. I mean, maybe if she's from that area, because that's what she's saying. She's saying that since she grew up in South Central. She said that there's a long history of gangbangers giving out money by standing on their cars and hurling money into the air. To those people that say it's dehumanizing and degrading, obviously haven't lived in the hood. Now, if that is a thing in that area, okay, I get it. But that does not mean that thing is right. It's tough to want to say that maybe it's dehumanizing. I think to some degree it's a little bit degrading, because I think being more personable and having human interaction with other humans is going to be more important than some long-standing weird tradition where gangbangers go and just toss money out. Like I said, if that's what they do, it's still dope, because yes, you are helping. But for me, in my personal opinion, I think you should just go talk to the people. You can give them money still, but don't throw it at them and then just expect that they're just going to like dive on the ground and go grab it. Now, again, Tiffany's saying that this is a tradition in Los Angeles. Now, when she says the part of, if you are saying that it's dehumanizing or degrading, obviously you haven't ever lived in the hood or haven't lived in the hood. I think that that's a stupid statement to make. 'Cause there's a lot of people that grow up in the hoods and they see similar types of people do these types of things for people in similar situations, and they're not just throwing the money at them. Now, not all gangbangers or people who are trying to do, philanthropy type stuff are all great people. And I'm sure that's, some of the things that they do and how they hand out these proceeds to people, I'm sure it probably is corny. I'm sure Blueface is not the only one. I'm just saying that when I saw the video, I looked at it as like, man, you probably can do better than that. Now, if in fact it is a tradition, then that's cool. But I think what he's going to need to change public perception is that he's going to have other gangbangers who are of similar stature, who have done this same thing, to come out and back him up on it. And so far, unless there is something, I have seen nothing of the fact. And I think at this point, the only person we might actually hear this from and be like, oh, okay, well then what he did was straight, Snoop will have to come out and be like, yeah, we've been doing that. But if Tiffany Haddish is telling you that, I don't know. It's not the same. Because, she tried to make it seem like people who were against what he did, like we're trying to say we're idiots because we didn't know that people did that, or these people are less hood because they'd rather hand the homeless person the money rather than just throw it on them. I don't know. It's super weird, but it is what it is, man. I hope those people that were down there, I hope some of that money that they were able to gather up off the ground, I hope it benefited them in some way. I hope they had as good of a Christmas as you possibly could have being under those circumstances. I hope that they at least had some person to spend their time with while they were down there. And, you just hope and pray that, they're able to wake up tomorrow and try to make the most out of their days. But yeah, I don't know, man. That was my last thing that I'm closing out with. I thought it was just a little bit weird that he stood on top of the car and threw the money at the people. I don't feel like I've ever seen that before. And Skid Row is a well-known place in Los Angeles. If that is a thing that they have once done, that's new shit to me. So, December 26th, man. We have one more show before the year closes out, so we will be back next Tuesday, which is New Year's Eve. Hey, we are gonna have a New Year's Eve type of show. Don't get too excited. I'm not doing anything special. It's gonna be the normal ass show. It's just on New Year's Eve. But after that, it'll be 2020, and then we'll start fresh on, what is it, January 2nd. Which is just that Thursday. So again, Tuesday and Thursday, these are the holiday shows, man. So I appreciate you tuning in. Again, shout out to all the new followers. Man, you guys are amazing. You're helping make the show great. It's awesome to be here with y'all. So thank you for tuning in. It's been another great show. I am Mimical Jackson. This is the Mimical Jackson Show, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. Get hype, baby. This episode will be airing on the YouTube channel. Hopefully it'll be up tomorrow morning. If you missed the live show, or you just want to tell your friends about the live shows that happen on Track Talk Radio, but also want to watch the clips, go to my YouTube channel. It's under the name Mimical Jackson. We are lit. Shit, man. Before we go, the Ryan show is up after this. As far as I know, they're still having a show, even though it's holiday time. So shout out to the boys out in NYC, Mr. Cheeks, Hampton Dave, Ryan, the whole freaking crew. Shout out to y'all, man. Hope you guys had a good holiday. This is Track Talk Radio. This is the Mimical Jackson Show. I am your host, Mimical Jackson, and we will see you guys next week. Holla! I'm gonna play for a minute. All right, man. I had to click the music on. I thought it was about to turn 9, but it's got a minute left, so I gotta play some songs so there's not just dead air. But hey, appreciate y'all tuning in. Like and subscribe. Do all the fun stuff. I think the link is at the bottom, or it's on the sides, or it's on the top. It's somewhere. But like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. It's been real.